Hey everyone, it's so great to connect with you today. I'm really excited to talk about a book that absolutely rearranged my brain in the best possible way, Brené Brown's Atlas of the Heart. You know how sometimes you read a book and it just clicks like puzzle pieces falling into place, revealing a clearer picture of yourself and the world around you? That's exactly what this book did for me, and I couldn't wait to share it with you, as if we were just grabbing coffee and chatting about life. So why this book? Well, in a nutshell, it's a guide to understanding human emotion and experience. Quite literally a map for navigating the landscape of our inner lives. Brené Brown, a research professor and social worker, argues that language is our portal to meaning-making, connection, healing, learning, and self-awareness. Think about it, how can you get help for something you can't even name? She paints this vivid picture of being at a doctor's office with excruciating pain, but your mouth is taped and your hands are tied, so you can't communicate what's happening. That's what it's like when we lack the language for our emotions, and it can lead to despair or destructive anger. One of the most mind-blowing takeaways for me was the concept of emotional granularity. Harvard psychologist Susan David calls it learning to label emotions with a more nuanced vocabulary, and it's truly transformative. People who can distinguish between a wide range of emotions are simply better at managing life's ups and downs than those who see everything in black and white, like just happy, sad, or angry. Brown shares some striking data when her team asked thousands of people to list emotions they could recognize. The average was just 3: happy, sad, and angry, or as they often put it, glad, sad, and pissed off. Can you imagine? When Rumi says, heart is sea, language is shore. Whatever sea includes will hit the shore. This book is really inviting us to expand our shores so more of our vast emotional ocean can truly land. The entire book is structured around different places we go when we experience certain emotions or states. It's not just a dictionary, it's a journey through our most common human experiences, from places we go when things are uncertain or too much to places we go when the heart is open. It's fascinating because Brown combines her personal stories with robust research, making these abstract concepts incredibly relatable. Let's dive into some of these places. Have you ever felt completely overwhelmed, like you just can't function? Brown uses a brilliant analogy from her past as a waitress. She distinguishes between being in the weeds stressed and being blown overwhelmed. Stress is when you feel demands are beyond your ability to cope, including unpredictability or feeling overloaded. But overwhelm is an extreme level of stress, where you're so emotionally or cognitively intense that you feel unable to function, completely overcome or overpowered by thought or feeling. It resonates so deeply, doesn't it? John Kabat-Zinn, a mindfulness expert, says overwhelm is when our lives are unfolding faster than the human nervous system and psyche are able to manage well. The solution? Often, it's not doing, just stopping, because research shows we can't process emotional information accurately when overwhelmed, leading to poor decisions. And then there's anxiety, which for Brown feels like the Willy Wonka shit tunnel and escalating loss of control, worst case scenario thinking, and total uncertainty. What's really interesting is how anxiety and excitement can feel physically the same, but how we label them determines our experience. If we interpret the sensations positively, it's excitement; negatively, it's anxiety. So, taking a deep breath and consciously labeling what you're feeling can be incredibly powerful. Brown also points out that worry isn't an emotion, but the thinking part of anxiety. And here's the kicker: many of us who worry believe it's helpful or uncontrollable, but it's neither. Suppressing it actually makes it stronger. Moving to places we go when we compare. Brown highlights that comparison itself isn't an emotion, but it drives so many big feelings. She humorously shares her own struggle with comparing herself to other swimmers in the lane next to her. Her definition of comparison is profound: the crush of conformity from one side and competition from the other. It's trying to simultaneously fit in and stand out. Be like everyone else, but better, it demands. While we often assume upward comparisons to those better than us always make us feel not enough, and downward comparisons to those worse always make us feel better than, Brown explains that both can lead to negative emotions like fear, anger, shame, and sadness. The grass may look greener on the other side, but it's often just a trick of perspective. The good news is, while comparison might be hard, we choose how it affects us. This section also introduces two often confused emotions, envy and jealousy. Did you know they're distinct? I certainly use them interchangeably. Envy is wanting something another person has. It can sometimes come with hostility, like I want that, and I don't want you to have it. Jealousy, on the other hand, is when you fear losing a relationship or a valued part of it that you already have. It often involves a triad, two people in a relationship and a rival, who could even be an activity. While jealousy is seen as more socially acceptable, it can lead to more dire consequences, especially if unchecked. It's powerful to realize that our language matters, helping us ask, am I fearful of losing something? Or do I want something someone else has? Speaking of envy, resentment, that feeling of frustration, judgment, anger, better than or hidden envy due to perceived unfairness was a huge revelation for Brown herself. For years, she thought it was tied to anger and her own perfectionism. Then she learned from researcher Mark Brackett that resentment is part of envy. This changed everything for her. She realized, I'm not mad because you're resting. I'm mad because I'm so bone tired and I want to rest. But unlike you, I'm going to pretend that I don't need to. This insight completely shifts the focus from blaming others to recognizing our own unmet needs or boundaries. It's about asking, what do I need but am afraid to ask for? The book also delves into some darker emotions like shame, which means pleasure or joy derived from someone else's suffering or misfortune. It's a tough emotion, carrying cruelty and insecurity, and it can shut down empathy while lighting up our brain's reward centers. Its positive counterpart, for downfrat, is the enjoyment of another's success. A subset of empathy. This reminds me of the importance of celebrating others' victories and not being a flame blower outer when these don't go as planned. We visit places like disappointment and regret. Disappointment is simply unmet expectations. The tricky part, many expectations are stealth expectations, unexamined and unexpressed, would paint a picture in our heads, but no one else knows their part. Brown shares a personal story about how she and her husband Steve constantly fought after busy weekends because of unexpressed expectations. Thinking it was easier when the other wasn't there. The solution was talking about what they each wanted from the weekend, painting done for tasks. Regret, on the other hand, is when we believe the outcome was caused by our decisions or actions, particularly the actions we didn't take. Brown firmly believes regret is a powerful teacher, a call to courage, and a path toward wisdom. No regrets isn't about courage, it's about living without reflection. Now, for one of the most vital distinctions in the book, shame versus guilt. This is foundational to Brown's work. Shame is that feeling of being flawed and unworthy of love and connection. It thrives on secrecy, silence, and judgment, and it doesn't drive positive change. Guilt is that did something that discomfort from evaluating our behavior against our values. Guilt can drive positive change and accountability. The antidote to shame is empathy. Sharing our shame with someone who responds with empathy makes it dissipate. Self-compassion is also crucial, defined by self-kindness, common humanity, recognizing shared suffering, and mindfulness, observing feelings without over-identifying. Brown warns that shame isn't a compass for moral behavior, it's the cause of destructive actions, often fueling narcissism, which she defines as the shame-based fear of being ordinary, and perfectionism, that relentless drive to be perfect, is born from shame. A self-destructive and addictive belief system to avoid shame, judgment, and blame. The discussion on trust is another game-changer. Brown adopts Charles Feldman's definition, choosing to risk making something you value vulnerable to another person's actions. To make trust tangible, Brown offers the BRAVE acronym, outlining 7 elements: boundaries, reliability, accountability, vault confidentiality, integrity, non-judgment, and generosity. This framework helps us get specific about where trust is working or where it needs attention. And it's not just about trusting others, self-trust is equally important, often the first casualty of mistakes. The theory of cultivating meaningful connection is the culmination of Brown's work. She identifies 3 major categories: developing grounded confidence, practicing the courage to walk alongside, and practicing story stewardship. What's fascinating is how she introduces the concept of near enemies. These are states that appear similar to a desired quality but actually undermine it. For instance, pity is the near enemy of compassion, appearing caring but actually creating distance and making the suffering person feel inferior. Similarly, sympathy is the near enemy of empathy, conveying not me rather than the powerful me too of genuine connection. Knowing and proving is the near enemy of grounded confidence, while fragile self-worth is the far enemy. Controlling the path is the near enemy of walking alongside, and walking away is the far enemy. And for story stewardship, performing connection while driving disconnection like advice giving or making it about yourself is the near enemy. When not valuing a story or damaging trust is the far enemy. These distinctions are so crucial because the near enemies are stealthy, often making us internalize pain and think something is wrong with us. This book is so relevant today, especially in a world that often feels deeply disconnected and polarized. Brown highlights that dehumanization, making others seem less than human, is often fueled by disgust and starts with language. This process, she explains, turns off our natural inhibitions against hurting others, making violence possible. She reminds us that never allow anyone to be humiliated in your presence. Atlas of the Heart ultimately teaches us that our emotions are complex layers of biology, biography, behavior, and backstory. Understanding these layers is a lifelong journey. The more we learn about ourselves and the language of emotion, the more we can develop grounded confidence, a self-worth that accepts imperfections and isn't diminished by mistakes. This internal connection, this solid ground within us, is what allows us to truly connect with others, to be brave, and to navigate life without fearing being lost. If you're looking for a book that will make you pause, reflect, and gain a profound understanding of what it means to be human and how we connect or fail to connect, I wholeheartedly recommend Atlas of the Heart. It's not just a book about feelings, it's a map back to ourselves and each other.